Who would have thought that game would be as fun as it was? Of course, that was the one game I decided to take a day off. I get a notification set to my phone. Saddiq Bey hits a game winner. We're going to talk about that game. It was an absolutely fun game. Everyone seemed to love it. 34 points from Hamidou Diallo. We'll talk about all of that and the future implications of how they're playing on today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button at Locked On Pistons. I'd really appreciate it. We're getting a lot of support over there. I really love that. I appreciate you guys always. All of you guys who listen every single day. I appreciate it. But let's go ahead and talk about, on today's podcast, what we saw over the weekend on the first. The Pistons, I don't think anyone thought that game was going to be fun to watch. I don't think anyone thought it was a must-see game. But it turned out, of course, the one day I take a day off, I had to go back and look at it. But of course, the one time I take a day off, the Pistons have one of the most fun games of the season. Ends with Saddiq Bey hitting a game winner. We got to talk about everything we saw in that game, how well Saddiq Bey, Hamidou Diallo have been playing, and even Luka Garza, who seemed to play really well. Have they shown any kind of future implications of how the Pistons are going to have to play when all their guys get back, which seem to be possibly today? We'll talk about all that, how they played on today's episode. And I brought my good friend Hal on. He was on here just, I believe, last week or last episode. He was on here. Hal, how you doing, man?
Been years, man. We haven't potted for a whole year, right?
You're trying to catch up with Bryce, man.
It was 2021 then. We've moved on.
Oh, yep. There you go. Fair enough. But Hal, you watched this game on first watch. You didn't have to go back and look at stuff like I had to. You watched it on first watch. You got the clip things. You got to experience it in the moment, everything that happened. How fun was that game, first off? Before we even dive into anything else, just how much fun was it?
It was a blast. I think largely because this was a pretty good matchup for the guys we had. I think the one thing you mentioned at Luka Garza had a pretty good game, and it's mostly because the Spurs don't have like a lob threat. You know, they don't have the Mitchell Robinson type to really scare him. And because of that, we just got a fun game where Hamidou got to be like the best athlete on the floor by a mile. And yeah, there wasn't this wasn't a game where I'm taking a whole lot out of it from an X and O perspective or anything, but sometimes you just want to be the most fun team on the floor, and we finally got one of those nights.
Fair enough. I know that, you know, I like I said, I was taking a day off. I was chilling. I had COVID, and the game was just like, you know, the Pistons, they don't have any other guys. There's only two people. I don't really want to watch this game. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to watch it. It's gonna be a waste of time. There's nothing really take away from this. So I'm just chilling, you know, playing 2K. You know, I'm just chilling back, you know, and then all of a sudden I get a notification. Saddiq Bey hits a game winner. I'm like, bro, no way. The one day I take a day off, I've watched all these games, all these pathetic games, and the one game I take off, the one game, Hamidou Diallo has to score 34 points. Saddiq has to go off for 30 or hit the game winner. You got Luka Garza 24, was it 24 and 14? Like, what happened out there, man? So I'm sure I saw all the fans, everyone watched it, had a lot of fun. I saw some people calling it one of the most fun games of the entire season. I don't think anyone saw that coming. They only had two rotational pieces actually in the lineup. Frank Jackson's hurt now with his ankle sprain. So I don't think anyone expected that. And not only was it an entertaining game, the Pistons ended up winning this game. And it's kind of crazy. So, you know, we want to spend a lot of our time on this podcast. We're going to spend a lot talking about Hamidou Diallo and Saddiq Bey and their future implications with the starting lineup when the guys get back. But before we get into that, I just want to take a little bit of time to talk about Luka Garza. Hal, me and you both, I feel like have been on the same page with Luka Garza a little bit with him because of his defense, how much he struggles in that end. And no doubt he still has those struggles. But I know there's a certain section, there's another crowd in the Pistons fan base. I don't want to say that they're wrong because I see what they be saying. And it's sometimes, you know, after this past game, I kind of felt like I had to give it up to them. But it kind of goes to Luka Garza maybe trash on defense, but what he does offensively and the screen setting he brings, it kind of offsets it. We've seen that go back and forth throughout the season. Some games it looked really bad defensively. Some games he's been able to get away with it. He brings it offensively. This past game against the Spurs, 24 points, or what was it, 20? Yeah, 20 points, 14 rebounds, 7 of 12 from the field. He was a plus 15 in this game, played almost 40 minutes. They got the win. Does this game change anything about how he should be played moving forward? Should he get more minutes? Have you seen improvement from him over this game, or is this just like you said, it was a good matchup for him, nothing to read any further in?
I think it does point to the lineups and the matchups where he can be successful, right? Jakob Pertl for the Spurs is not, the kind of athlete who's going to punish him. Um, like I said earlier, he's not going to punish him with lobs. He's not faster than Luca, and because of that, Luca can at least play things a little more honestly than he probably normally has to. Um, they did just kind of let him sit in the paint and just take up space. And when he gets to do that, he's all right. And that's he's going to be your second big, maybe your third big in a rotation if he manages to stick to a rotation. So when that happens, you're looking for which big on the opposing team is a little more slow footed. Which one does Luca an advantage against? Um, you know, we did see some of his weaknesses pop up this game. He did have 14 rebounds, but 9 of them were offensive rebounds, cleaning up like Hamidou's misses and stuff. And that's great. That's I don't want to say like getting 9 offensive rebounds is bad. It's just that he only had 5 defensive rebounds because he struggles to he's good at boxing out, but he's not good at exploding up out of his box outs and getting the rebound itself. So there's just little things where you have to understand his limitations and you got to build around it, right? um, the pick and pop threat is real, right? He's a legitimately good shooter. Uh, I think actually he probably needs to pull the trigger more often than he does, but that's a legitimate threat. He is a legitimate threat in the post to score. Um, so you just have to play to his strengths, and it's definitely a lot easier when you have a matchup advantage like we did last night, 2 nights ago
Fair,
when people hear this pod.
fair enough, fair enough. So I just want to bring this number out there because I was looking at it earlier. And you just tell me your quick thoughts on it. When he's on the court, the Pistons are minus 9.6. When he's off the court, they're a minus 9.0. So it's only on off difference of about what is it, zero point 0.6 points. And a lot of the players are around like I think all the rotation players are basically around -5 and below. But the on off difference it isn't terrible with him. It's actually pretty decent. Should the Pistons roll with him as their backup center? When until Kelly Olynyk gets back. I know they've been trying to go with Trey Lyles, and Trey Lyles actually has some pretty good on-off numbers as well, to be honest. But should they roll with Luka Garza as their backup spot?
I think you can be a little more. Uh, I think you can pull the trigger on putting him in the lineups um, more than we have. I think there are still going to be times where Trey Lyles is a better option. Certainly, when Kelly and Stu get back, I think they're going to be your 1-2 for most of the time. But again, we've seen now that he can handle certain matchups, and that is a big step up. Um, I do think because Lyles is kind of a dorky looking player, he gets a lot of flack, even though he's in the right place and actually has played pretty well in a lot of situations. So I think there's still going to be a lot of times, especially against some of the more mobile players, where Lyles is going to be a better option.
Fair enough. I agree. I think you have to pick your spots with Luca, but definitely he looks like he's taking some steps in the right direction. And definitely very happy to see a game from him like that 20 points, 14 rebounds, played really well, especially contribute to a Pistons win, plus 15 on the floor, almost 40 minutes of action. That
I
was
don't
that.
think he picked up his second foul until like in the third quarter or something. He was doing really well from a foul perspective for a long time, which is a big deal for Luca.
Yep. So overall, great game from the Pistons, fun game, and a good game from Luka Garza. Hopefully, he can string that together. If he continues to get some more minutes, maybe we see some more good performances from him. But when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about Hamidou Diallo and Saddiq Bey. But I want to specify a little bit on Hamidou Diallo because of how he played, and then we'll talk about their implications in the starting lineup when the guys get back. But I want to talk about Hamidou Diallo when we get back. First, I got to tell you guys about some of our sponsors. First up, let me tell you a little bit about Built Bar. It's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include a Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than a candy bar. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good, you'll want to eat it. Unlike other protein bars that can be chocolatey or waxy or taste like a chemical spill. You want to eat healthy, but it goes so boring. By like week 3, you might be thinking, this is just not worth it. Where's the chocolate at? Built Bars, well, are covered in 100% real chocolate. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. So here's an idea for the new year. Go to all your secret treat stashes at home, in the pantry, at the office, in the car, wherever. Throw out all the sugary and calorie-filled treats and replace them with Built Bars. So when you're craving a snack or a treat, you can reach for something that's healthy and tastes incredible. And there's so many flavors to choose from: coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, raspberry, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie, and many more. In fact, Built is always coming out with new and limited time flavors. So go check out built.com often to see what's new. Again, go to built.com, and this time you can use promo code and get 15% off your order by using our code LOCK15, again, for 15% off at built.com. That's LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar ever. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. I want to thank you guys for all the support you guys have given me over on the YouTube channel as well. If you haven't head over there already, hit that subscribe button over there. I'd really appreciate it. But Hal, let's talk about Hamidou Diallo, man. 34 points for him. He's averaging over 30 points over his last, I believe, three games. He's played really well over the last. I mean, really, he's played really well over like the past month or so, but really has taken it up a notch since he was inserted to the starting lineup, and especially once guys have went down with health and safety protocols. I just want to point out one play from this last game that I saw that I thought was like, I thought it was a perfect encapsulation. I think that's the right word I'm trying to look for, of what Hamidou Diallo brings for the Pistons and what he's about. It was I forget what quarter it was, but he drove to the rim and he missed he missed like it looked like he got fouled, but he missed a contested layup around the rim. And I think it was one of their guards who got the rebound. I think it was Murray, or it may not have been. I don't know which one it was, but it was one of their Spurs guards that got the rebound. And Hamidou Diallo was on the ground because he fell from the miss. Now, some guys may get up slow and jog back, or just whatever, pout to the referees. No, Hamidou Diallo gets up. I believe actually this might have been late in the game too. It really mattered. So Hamidou Diallo gets up off the ground, chases the guy from behind, rips him up, and gets the Pistons another chance and a bucket eventually. That type of play right there that's one of those plays I really love to see, and it kind of just says what Hamidou Diallo is about. He hustle. He's going to play extremely hard, get to the basket. He's playing a physical, getting to the basket too. And I really love seeing that, especially because I'm almost 100% sure that happened late in the game in the fourth quarter. It might have been overtime, but that kind of play, not giving up on a play. You thought you got fouled, but instead get up and chase a guy down from behind, poke it out from behind while the guard's dribbling and get an easy bucket for the Pistons off of that. I thought that was a great play by him and kind of just says what he's about and what he's been doing for the Pistons. What did you take away from this game from Hamidou Diallo?
Well, we've talked about how we want to see Saddiq Bey be, play more like himself, right? Play within himself. Be, the last time I was on here, we used the word scalable, right? And I think the nice thing is Hami knows exactly what he is, right? He's not trying to pull up shooter, or at least a pull up 3-point shooter. He's not trying to be some crafty dribbler. He's attacking space as aggressively as he can, and the guy has just his speed is obscene, right? That first step and the power he generates and the length he's able to finish with, he takes advantage of every little crease and crack he can. And we're just seeing, I mean, his I pulled it earlier, his drives and pull-up attempts have both doubled in the last 8 games or so since Jeremy's out. And he's scoring, putting up points either at the line or at the rim on 75% of his drives. He's shooting almost 70% effective field goal percentage on pull-ups right now on about 3.5 attempts a game. And that's all been very sustainable, scalable stuff because, again, it's just him getting the ball, taking whatever they're giving him. If that's an elbow pull-up, he's been pretty comfortable taking it. And if he can get to the rim, he's getting to the rim as hard as he can. And I just think that he we saw the issue he had with Dwayne Casey, whatever the root of that was, near the start of the season, right? And he sits for a couple games, and everyone wants to point out, why was he not playing then? And I think we're seeing now like the difference, just in energy levels and the difference in and the refinement, I think, of his game down into just what he does well. And I mean, this was a heck of a game from him. Just both ends, the effort's been great. I thought he was getting, um, I thought his reputation defensively was being a little inflated at times last year and earlier this year, but he has stopped kind of being too aggressive, and he's really settled into his defense, and I think it's paying dividends. He's getting more blocks and steals than ever. He's just been really awesome, and I mean, you look at I'm looking at like a game flow chart here, just how the score went and when the Pistons took the lead, and really it's Hamidou Diallo in the third quarter. Um, he had like I think three different drives he gets fouled on. He sinks two pull-ups. He gets an assist, and that's basically the difference in the game right there. It's just one stretch of Hamidou Diallo going, absolutely crazy. And the best thing is I think this is all really sustainable stuff that he can keep doing. Not in the same volume, obviously, but there's nothing about this that says, oh, he can only do this if he's getting 60 touches a game.
Yeah, man, you've heard me talk about him and seen what I say about him. His drives are some of the most like fun drives for me to watch. Again, I've said this multiple times in the podcast. I don't know what it's called or how to explain it really over the podcast, but there's something that he does on his drives that I tried practicing my whole life, and it's like a guy. It would look like a dude has him cut off. It looked like his drive has been completely cut off. Looks like he's kind of off balance, and then somehow, some way it's like he gets inside of them, he gets inside their inside foot, and is able to just explode towards the basket. And it's just like it's crazy, man. I absolutely love watching it. It requires an insane amount of balance, not only in the air, but like driving to the rim. It's crazy. And then, like you said, the way his first dribble, it's like he's an insane driver. He chews up space fast, and he just when he explodes, it literally looks like he's flying. He hangs in the air for a long time. He will double clutch a shot, and it'll look like he's not even falling yet. Like it's crazy, man. But his defense as well. You mentioned it. Um, I think his off-ball defense is putrid. A lot of times he gets caught. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna be honest.
yeah.
His off-ball defense is pretty putrid. He gets caught like watching and just doesn't, switch on screens, doesn't run through screens often. Looks like he just gets caught ball watching a lot, basically. But on the ball, I feel like he's a pretty decent point of attack defender. He gets up in the guy. He's physical. I like how he looks on ball. But off ball, he still has a long ways to go. He needs to pay him a little bit more attention there. But like you said, man, he's how comfortable. I think one of the things that points out to me is that he's so comfortable taking these pull up elbow jumpers that you brought up, and like I talked about at the beginning of the season after his like first 4 or 5 games where he just really struggled and he ended up getting benched. Like it looked like he just lacked any kind of capability to shoot anything outside 3 feet. Had no confidence in it. He was missing shots really bad, like off to the right badly. It was just they were really bad. And now he's just like, okay, you're giving me this elbow pull up. I'll take the one dribble pull up each time. And he's draining it. He's shooting it with confidence. I really feel like the entirety of his game right now, and obviously has a lot to do with the guys that are out, and this enabled this. But his confidence, I feel like, is at an all-time high. Like the dude shot, what was it, 32 shot attempts? He took 32 shots.
A lot.
like he took 32 shots, and it's like, you know what, it is what it is. We're gonna win this game because I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna get us there. Like he didn't lose any confidence over any missed shots. He's gonna keep coming at you, and it's just like his confidence at all-time high right now. I love to see it. He's just playing, like you said, I think he's playing extremely well. Just driving, getting to the basket, drawing fouls, playing aggressive. I don't think the Pistons have another guy on the team that can attack a driving lane like he can, as quickly and as explosive as he can. I don't think there's anyone else on the team. Do you think anyone else kind of even rivals him in that aspect?
No, not even close. I think Frank Jackson's the one guy who comes around the DHO and he has those drives where he just kind of explodes and you're like, wow, Frank Jackson, look at that. But he doesn't have the strength to do it. with the consistency. I guess Josh Jackson, there are moments where we see that from Josh Jackson, but he doesn't have the consistency, and I don't think he has the same kind of understanding. The the word you're looking for, I think, when you talk about the way he drives and the way he always seems to get an angle. Draft Twitter will use this word a lot. It's called proprioception. It's this understanding you have of where your body is in space. And it's one of those things
Hey,
that like some athletes just have it and some athletes don't. And it's kind of related to you'll hear like kinesthesia and the tape athletes wear like on their shoulders and stuff. Um, and it's all about like that tape's whole thing is like trying to get the sensation of certain muscles and making you aware of them so that you kind of use them mechanically better. And proprioception is this idea that where your body is and you can kind of understand I need to step here and I need to step there. And so when he's a very flexible guy, right? And he's very
yes.
long. And so when he's in the lane, when he's in traffic and he's seeing these places and he has to step around a guy, get his hips past a guy and still explode. And it's just one of those pieces of athleticism that's really hard to quantify. We don't really have a metric for it, but he's got it in spades. One of the best, players in the league when it comes to that specific thing. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is the guy I think of all the time when I'm talking about that because Shea is just one of the most flexible finishers you'll ever see. That guy just finds space, you know, with a level of athleticism that like doesn't even come close to what Hamidou does.
Yeah, flexible is a good word as well. He's extremely flexible, and that's something I'm not. I'm definitely not flexible. So maybe that was my issue growing up. But just real quick before we move on, gotta give credit to Saddiq. Hit that game-winning shot. How big do you think that was for Saddiq just to see that shot go down, man? I think that was huge for him. And he kind of talked about how it's like bigger than him. It was like for Detroit, for the city, for the fans, and it's good for his teammates. Just how big do you think that was?
He went right into media mode, didn't he? I love that Devin
Yes.
Gardner did the end of game interview because Devin was 30 times more excited than Sadiq was. And you need that because Sadiq's as mild mannered as they come and as reserved as they come. But I think it was really good. I think this was an awesome game from Sadiq. I thought he was just playing, really well, doing all the stuff we've been asking him to do. I thought he made some really big plays. He started a lot of swing plays that got the Pistons good looks from three. He's had to step up in a huge way, these last couple of games with no one else on the team. And both he and Hami have met that call, pretty resoundingly.
I completely agree with you. So when we come back, we're going to talk about these two guys have been playing incredible, but now here comes the cavalry. They're coming back. Their teammates are on their way back. It looks like the Kate Cunningham, Killian Hayes will be back today. They're out of health and safety protocols. They're not on the injury report. It looks like those guys will be back today. What do the Pistons do now with two guys who seem like they can handle more and want to do more, with two ball handlers coming back in their starting lineup? We'll talk about that when we come back from the break. But first, you got to hear from some of our sponsors. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And again, if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate all the support I've gotten over there, all the love you guys have been giving me. I really appreciate. Love all you guys that listen every single day. I've been having a lot of you guys reach out to me recently because I've been dealing with COVID, me and my fiance. So I really appreciate that as well. You guys are great. I really appreciate you guys not only listening to the podcast but reaching out to make sure I'm doing straight. So I really appreciate that. But Hal, the guys are coming back. Cade, Killing, they're on their way back. I believe Saban's also on his way back today. Isaiah Stewart's still in. He's on the injury report as of right now with health and safety protocols. I'm pretty sure that keeps him completely out. So is Corey Joseph. Obviously, Jeremy Grant and Kelly Olynyk are still out with their injury. But that's not the big deal. The big deal is that Killian and Kate Cunningham are on their way back. And that means that the starting lineup from before they went out is going to be back in shape. Killian, Cade, Hamidou Diallo, Saddiq, and actually, I saw you shaking your head there. You're right. They're going to be without Isaiah Stewart, but I think they're going to probably start Luka Garza. But they have the four of their main guys right there. We've seen that Hamidou Diallo, like you said, his dribble pull-ups have, what do you say? His dribble pull-ups and drives both have doubled in the last 8 games without Jeremy Grant, correct? And I believe a lot of that, I mean, I'm just going to make an assumption that a lot of that had to have came as well in the last few games without both Killian and Cade. So with that happening, and as well with Saddiq kind of coming to his own a little bit, making better decisions, having the ball in his hands a little bit more, and being more decisive. All those kind of things. You add in Cade and Killian, who both Killian's starting to learn how to play off ball, but he still wants the ball in his hands, and so does Cade. They both need the ball in their hands. I do want to say before we ask, how does Dwayne Casey make it all work, and how does he, is there changes that he needs to make? Should he give other guys the ball more? I do want to say that the starting lineup of those guys with Isaiah Stewart were a minus 0.3 in the 4 games that they had played together, so it was working. Minus 0.3. The Pistons were losing games by a lot. It's not too bad if you take into account that they're like losing minus 0.3. I don't think it's too bad. I think that's decent. So it was fine. So do you think that there's any changes that should be made? Should they go back to how they were playing? Should Dwayne Casey stagger? My idea is I think Dwayne Casey should probably stagger two of them with each other. When he takes Killian out, take out Saddiq or Hamidou Diallo and keep Cade and one of the other ones in. And then when those two guys come out, then you bring back in Killian and Saddiq, or Killian and Hamidou Diallo, whichever one it is. Try to stagger these guys because I think they can work together. I think they've played much faster with them in the lineup. The ball has moved a little bit more, and they get out in transition. We talked about that in a few podcasts ago, how fast they've been playing with that lineup. I believe they were like 7th in the league in total transition, 3rd off of steals or whatever. So I think the starting lineup can work together, but I do believe that they probably should want to try to get the guys to get their own food at some point. Like let them work for themselves, give them the ball at their own expense every now and then throughout the game. I think that it's going to be interesting to see how Dwayne Casey handles that. How do you think they should handle it? Do you agree with me, or do you think they should just continue to do what they've been doing?
Well, I mean, obviously, when everybody comes back, right, the starting lineup is still solid until we get one of, either one of Kelly or Grant comes back. Assuming Stu comes back in the next game or two, you still have there's nothing to change yet, right? So we'll get I think another 2 or 3 games taste of Kelly is back. I haven't seen a reevaluation of his yet. So then the question becomes, is there, like you said, I think you have to stagger basically and make sure 2 of those 4 are on the floor at any given time. You need creation from somewhere. Having Frank Jackson out hurts. Hopefully he's back, pretty quick. The question then becomes, if Killian's leading a unit without Cade, where's the spacing? Especially with all the guys that you have hurt now. Because if he doesn't have spacing, I don't think you're going to succeed very well. So do you pair him and Saddiq together to try and open the floor a little bit? Do you pair him and Hami together because they're a better transition force, right? And probably a little more likely to generate offense out of their defense. I don't know. I'm interested to see where Dwayne goes. I think right now there's nothing to lose for him, right? He doesn't have any options that are good options, I think. So we'll just find out what the worst ones are while we're here. I do think when Kelly Olynyk comes back, I would like to see him start, I think, with the Hami and Saddiq as the forwards. I want to see what that looks like when that floor is spaced out a little bit more than with Stewart. I think that would be really interesting. And maybe we'll see a little bit of that with Garza. That is something offensively he can provide. And then I guess one of my biggest questions, we're really seeing that Hamidou likes to play on the wing, right? He's got that little reverse, back out where he crosses it and goes to the rim off the wing. He kind of likes those spaces in a way that our non-shooters of the past haven't, right? Like Stanley Johnson did not want to be on the wing, right? He wanted to be above the break so he could drive middle. Hami doesn't really seem to care as much. So can you play him on the weak side wing in a pick and roll and have him, attack kind of an empty side off the catch? I don't know yet. I don't know if he's got enough shooting threat and enough gravity as a driver to make that work. Otherwise, it's got to be Saddiq in that corner. What do you do? How do you put him in this lineup moving forward? Tactically to make sure that he's getting touches he can profit off of without getting in the way of other people. And I think that's a really tough question when you put, if you put Stu, Hami, and Killian all in together, you're putting a lot on Cade and Saddiq to make outside shots.
Fair enough. I'll ask this question for you. Do you think that Hamidou Diallo has forced Dwayne Casey's hand, to force him to make sure, even when these guys come back, I need to have the ball in my hand some?
I think he can keep playing off the catch. I don't think they need to like give him the ball, to initiate offense or anything, right? I think he can be the secondary, initiator off of another action. I think that'll be fine for him. That's mostly what he's doing now. I think certainly if he's ripping and running in transition, I don't think he has to give the ball up by any means. Um, yeah, I think what he's certainly forced to his hand in is we're not playing Josh Jackson anymore, right?
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah. Josh is gone.
like he's getting his 18 to 25 minutes a night, and that's I think that's pretty solid now.
All right, fair enough. I guess we'll end it off with this. Has the play of Saddiq Bey and Hamidou Diallo completely sealed the deal on Jeremy Grant needing to be moved? In my opinion, yes. I think how well they've played together and how the starting lineup looked before, like the starting lineup with Jeremy Grant was a minus 5.9. That starting lineup now it was only through 4 games, a small sample size, but it was minus 0.3, so almost 6 points better. Um, they looked better. They looked like they were having a little bit more fun. They were moving the ball more. They were playing faster. And obviously, ever since those guys went down, Hamidou Diallo has proven that he needs to be out there and needs to be out. And I don't know. Has he proven that he should be the starter the rest of the season? I think so. And I think Saddiq has proven that he's starting to come around a little bit too. So I think with both of them playing well together, and obviously Jeremy Grant, combine that with Jeremy Grant being at his peak value right now, I think it's absolutely shut the door on him possibly playing another game in a Pistons uniform. I think we won't see. Actually, you know what? That's my question. I'll ask you. You tell me. Do you think that we'll see Jeremy Grant in a Pistons uniform again? I don't think so.
I don't. I will say that this, if he does come back, it's going to be a big test and a big question for of how well he understands his role, of whether or not he recognizes how this team is succeeding without him. Right? They've shown that some of his ISO play and some of him not moving the ball quick enough. Right? They've shown how much that hurt. So is he sitting on the sideline right now recognizing that and saying, I need to change, because it's not like Jeremy Grant's a bad player, right? Nobody's saying that, right? It's just that he had some traits that were getting in the way of other people. And right now this team doesn't have any wiggle room to mold itself around a player like Jeremy. So when he comes back, if he comes back for the Pistons, does he recognize I need to be, moving the ball? I need to get shots up quicker. I need to, be more efficient with my drives. If he does, then that's a value add for Jeremy, right? That's I think going to look even better moving into the summer. I don't think he lasts past this summer, regardless. But and like you, I don't think he lasts past the deadline. But either way, I hope he's seeing how they're succeeding without him.
All right, so I'm gonna just make sure everyone gets this out of you. Jeremy Grant in a Pistons uniform again. Do you think you'll see him on the court again? Yes or no?
No.
All
On the
right,
court,
fair
yes.
No, fair,
In a
like in a
uniform.
Pistons jersey.
No.
All right, fair enough. Neither do
We're not
I.
wishing any ill upon a man. No.
I hope you guys all knew that's not what I meant. But anyway,
I'm not getting clipped out here.
That's all we got for you guys today. Thank you, Hal, for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. Let them know where you can find you on Twitter and where they can find your Busted Header podcast.
Well, you can find the Busted Header podcast any place you find podcasts. You can find me on Twitter at Halbridius. If you're following along in the stream, it's right there.
That's if you're getting the good stuff with the YouTube channel. If you haven't checked it out, go do that because you get to see both of our beautiful faces. You feel me? But thank you guys for listening to today's podcast, man. Again, I'm feeling a lot better from COVID. I know I told you guys I was dealing with it over the past I think it's been 7 days, but I'm feeling a lot better. I go back to work on the 6th, so everything's trending along the right way for me. I'm feeling good. Thank you guys, all of you guys who reached out to me. Hal, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Make sure you guys go make Locked On Bets your second listen, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs, hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. Locked On Bets. Make sure you guys go check out the YouTube channel. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, go down below, leave a 5-star review, say something nice about me. I'd really appreciate it. And until the next one, I'll see you guys later. Peace out, everybody. Go Pistons. Have fun watching the game tonight.